afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon,
Please sit down.
Good afternoon. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
You belong to Rohtak
Yes, sir.
proper
Yes, sir.
or a village?
Sir, I belong to a village, Bharan, near Maham Tehsil in Rohtak.
In Rohtak. And you're fond of Haryanvi Ragini.
Yes, sir.
Who is the best known Ragini person in Haryana?
Sir, Pandit Lakshmi Chand is
Lakshmi
best
Chand.
known.
And number 2?
Sir, Fauji Meher Singh.
Have you heard of K.C. Sharma?
Sir,
No.
I have not
He was
heard.
an IAS officer
Okay, sir.
who spent his life doing Ragini.
Okay, sir.
All right. So can you sing Ragini?
Yes, sir. I can also recite Ragnis.
Recite Ragini. Very good. And Pandit Lakshmi Chand was also associated with song and sang.
Yes, sir. The theatre form sang, he was associated with that. And in fact, he is credited with the creation of a lot number of songs. Because of that, he is famously known as Surya Kavi.
Surya Kavi.
Can you give a small sampling of not more than 2 lines of a Ragini which you can sing for us?
Yes, sir. Sir, this is about women empowerment. A new Ragini is there. Sir, Mari aan baan are shaan bani se बेटी हिंदुस्तानी बॉर्डर ऊपर धाड़ रही से बेगट के मर्दानी ओ बेटे वाले सुन लो थारी झूठी चौड़ी छाती से याड़े कल्पना और सुनीता अंतरिक्ष को है जाती से कोयल जैसी कूक लता की हेरे रे कोयल जैसी कूक लता की हुई दुनिया दीवानी बॉर्डर ऊपर धाड़ रही से बेघट के मर्दानी.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Now,
sir.
what happens, Dr. Rajesh,
Yes, sir.
you have studied in Chandigarh
Yes, sir.
and you have appeared for your civil services with the option medicine.
Yes, sir.
That's your paper.
Yes, sir.
You have taken certain number of chances before this,
Yes, sir.
and always your optional has been medicine, medical sciences.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you tell me one thing that you have? How many chances do you have for civil services?
Sir, I have 6 chances. This is my 5th one.
This is your 5th one.
Yes, sir.
So have you tried to introspect that why is it that a bright young person like you, professional with diversity of interests, has failed to make it to the interview before this? Or have you made it before interview?
Sir,
You got the combined medical services,
Yes,
but that's not quite the same UPSC, no?
yes, sir. That is.
There you compete with doctors.
Yes, sir.
Here you compete with best talent in all fields,
Yes.
presumably.
Yes.
So what has been your experience? Have you ever been called for an interview before this for the UPSC?
Yes, sir. Last year, I was called for interview, but I was not able to make to the final
But
list.
what were the marks you were awarded?
Sir, that last time I got very low marks. 129 marks I got.
That's very low. How's
Yes.
that? What went wrong in the interview? Can you remember a incident or a question where you think you mishandled it?
Sir, it was with regard to the examination of sexual assault survivor. So I faltered in that. So maybe it didn't go as per the guidelines. So that was one mistake. Plus other mistakes were also there. So I have tried to correct those mistakes, sir.
All right. Now, let me go over the syllabus of the medical sciences. It's a very wide-ranging
Yes,
syllabus.
sir.
What is your favorite topic in the syllabus for UPSC in the medical sciences?
Yes, sir. Sir, I like all the subjects in medical science. I am very comfortable with social and preventive medicine.
No, let's not go to social and preventive medicine. Let's
Yes.
go to something of more critical care nature.
Yes, sir.
You think that in the recent pandemic, the figures were given out that people died of cardiac arrest, people died of asphyxiation, but nobody was supposed to have died of COVID. While the actual cause of death could have been a cardiac infarction,
Yes, sir.
it could have been
Yes, sir.
breathing your last, as the phrase has it, but nobody would talk of corona then. What would you think about that? What went wrong in the treatment of corona? I'm not going into that nobody had anticipated how many people will come. I will not getting into that our infrastructure was not ready. Were you working in a hospital then?
Sir, I am at present working on COVID duty at Central Jail Hospital, Tihad.
You are still in service.
Sir, during this second wave, I decided to join this COVID duty for temporary period.
All right, fair enough. So you are in Tihar jail.
Yes, sir.
Now, Tihar jail is one of those ideal conditions for super spreading of COVID.
Yes,
You
sir.
have congestion.
Yes, sir.
You have people, outlaws, antisocial elements who are not given to appropriate behavior under the best of the time.
Yes, sir.
But let's forget COVID at the moment. Now that you have mentioned Tihar, I'm tempted to ask you another question.
Okay.
A gangster Gujjar was found dead
Yes, sir.
in his cell in Tihar jail.
Yes, sir.
The family has said that he was murdered.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you are not on COVID duty in Tihar jail,
Yes, sir.
and if a case of this kind came,
Yes, sir.
how would you find from the post-mortem examination
Yes, sir.
that it was a suicide
Yes, sir.
or not suicide and a case of murder?
Yes, sir. So we have to take a comprehensive examination of the
Go
victim.
without saying.
Sir,
Give me the specific evidence which you would look for in the post-mortem examination for the allegation that it is not suicide but murder.
sir, we will look at the kind of injuries. If it is an incision, and we will first of all try to correlate with the weapon that has been alleged
but
to
the
have.
weapon is not being used, so you can't correlate incision.
Yes, sir.
You are having no weapon has been used.
Yes,
no
sir.
weapon has been found. Let's say the person has been found hanging.
Sir, in that case, sir, if no weapon is there, sir, the suicidal, if the injuries because of suicide, they would be within the approachable distances of the hands. If a person is from right hand, then the injury would be within the approachable distances. While if a injury is inflicted from outside, then in that particular case, the injuries would be far away.
How do you do this? The sign of injury in a case of death by hanging.
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between death by hanging of a person
Yes,
who has committed suicide
Yes, sir.
and death by hanging by a person who's maybe has not been killed by hanging but has been hung on a fan or a tree?
Yes, sir. Sir, it will depend if in case he has been killed and then hanged, or if he has been strangulated. So we will look at the ligature mark on the neck. So in case of a suicidal hanging, we can see from the nape of the neck if
If the person is a dreaded gangster
Yes, sir.
in full faculties of his physical body,
Yes, sir.
would he allow somebody to smother him with a pillow? Would there be injury marks on other part of the body indicating a fight?
Sir, if a gangster is there, he's having a
I'm
strong
talking about a
physical.
specific case. The gangster
Yes, sir.
Gujjar found dead in his cell.
Sir, we will see it. More chances of strangulation are there, and around the rope, there would be nail marks.
Doctor, you are again making the same
Yes,
mistake like the sexual injury one. Have you studied your Modi's jurisprudence, revised edition of the How to Conduct a Postmortem or the medical legal
Yes, sir.
aspects?
Yes, sir. I have.
You are talking in generalities. अगर हट्टा कट्टा गैंगस्टर है,
Yes, sir.
उसके हाथ खुले हैं,
Yes, sir.
वो he will allow somebody to come and overpower him and strangulate him, and those injury marks would be very different. There are
Yes, sir.
post-mortem injury marks and ante-mortem injury marks.
Yes, sir.
And well, anyway, leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
I think it's the same problem is happening. What is happening is that you have not revised. It's unfair of me to say so, because आपने medical science में जो चीज़ पढ़ी होगी, the medical jurisprudence would have been done at one stage 6 weeks or something. Then you study something else. Then you start practicing medicine. Then you start preparing for civil services. So you don't remember. That's what my concern is, that you opt a subject like medical science, you would feel that you know the subject very well. But the subjects you have studied over 5 years, the preclinical and clinical anatomy, physiology,
Forensic
pathology, forensics, GNO, skin and VD, neurology, psychiatry, social preventive medicine, virology, all that would unfortunately be condensed into one paper and you would not know where it's coming from. So, and when you come to the interview, perish the thought if there is a doctor there, he would ask you specific questions. And that would be a bit tricky, so I would advise you to revise your syllabus wherever you are reading it from.
So I take you to heritage.
Yes, ma'am.
Haryana is very famous for its heritage sites. Of course, you can probably name them on the tips. So what is the important heritage site? So heritage as in historical, civilizational, and then I'll come to the heritage in terms of medicine. So can you tell me the sites of Haryana?
Ma'am, we have Indus Valley sites. We have, in case of my home district, near my village there is a Jani Chor ki Bawli, that is a water
No,
harvesting
but the
system.
Indus Valley site, what is it called? It
Sir,
is one of the biggest. And what is it called?
Sir, ma'am, we have Banavli is there,
And?
and we have Rakhi Ghadi, which is the largest Indus Valley site. Many more Indus Valley sites are there.
So tell me about your area, your district. You were telling me.
Ma'am, in my district, in Maham Tehsil, there is a water harvesting system that is known as Shah Jahan ki Bawli or Jani Chor ki Bawli. It is it is like a step well having 101 steps. In Rohtak district, there is a archaeological excavation at Khokhara Code, where the various coins of various kingdoms are there. For example, Yodeva coinage has been found out there.
So this water harvesting, but a dam is there, but it is also, I think, almost in Haryana, near Delhi border, of the Tomar period. Would you know about that?
Ma'am, I think it would be Hathanikund Dam, but I am not exactly
No,
aware
not
about that
Hatnakud
one.
Dam. Anyway, in terms of medical heritage, I'm sure you know that there is, they say that the Shushruta Samhita, it takes you to the world of surgery.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ayurveda takes you to the world of preventive medicine.
Yes,
You talked about, I think, preventive medicine. What do you know about the Granth Charak Samhita? If you know.
Ma'am, in Charak Samhita, I think medicine, the Ayurveda's principles are enumerated. So it basically talks about how the disease happens. So there are some 4 elements about how
First,
healthy.
can you just tell me what is Charak and what is Samhita? What is the meaning of word Samhita and what is the meaning of the word Charak?
Yes, ma'am. The Samhita means compilation. So some people say that it is a work of many people and it has been compiled in the Charak Samhita.
So what is the meaning of Charak? Would you know?
Ma'am, Charak.
Charak is field research, comes from Charvaha.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So what are the important main principles of preventive medicine, Medicare?
Ma'am, I'm not an expert, but it is about Ayurveda. Then
And what is the meaning of Ayurveda?
Veda means knowledge,
And
and
Ayu comes
Ayu
from?
means the age, I think.
No. The
Sorry.
science of life.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I just want to ask you as a doctor, and when you look back at current job that you're doing at Tihar jail,
Yes.
and when you look at Haryana, what do you think should be some of the, what would be your recommendations with regard to system changes or improvements that need to be introduced
Yes, sir.
so as to upgrade our response?
Yes, sir. With regard to medical field, I would suggest the first priority should be that the doctor-patient ratio has to be taken care of. For that, reforms in medical education are urgently needed. Then we have to ensure that the primary
I don't
health care.
understand. You're saying doctor-patient relationship needs to be taken care of.
Ratio
The
has to be
ratio
improved.
needs to be taken care of. But you are a doctor and you're going to leave.
Your own doctor, physician, you are not taking your own medicine. First, you heal yourself. You are a perfectly qualified doctor who is going to further imbalance the patient-doctor ratio.
Sir, I see this not as leaving medical profession, rather expansion of the medical profession, because I feel the knowledge of medical science would be of utility in civil services.
No, that's fair enough.
Yes, sir.
But the point is, if doctors move to professions other than healing professions,
Yes, sir.
how is, even if you have alternative medicine, even if you have paramedical, how are you going to improve the patient-doctor ratio? That's the question.
Sir, for that medical education reforms are needed. Some steps have recently been taken by.
Or the UPSC
Yeah,
reforms are needed. They should ban doctors from taking civil service exams.
नहीं, आप बताइए what
This is a
the
serious
reform-
question.
Yes,
See, it's I asked you a very basic question,
Yes, sir.
which is, if you look back and given the work that you're doing and you want to make recommendations, what are the system changes and upgradations you would recommend so that we can be better prepared. Our actions can be, more timely or whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
What recommendations would you make?
So
Your
second,
first one you had said, doctor ratio, patient ratio, which I think doesn't work right now because you've suggested it.
yes, sir. So because the medical education is very costly in India, and second is, sir, I would suggest that we should use telemedicine, and we should make a system where the people from rural areas are able to access the medical services with the help of telemedicine. So we have to give a stimulus to that. Third would be that we should focus on primary healthcare. So our healthcare infrastructure is having inverted pyramid. So we have to course correct it and go for a normal pyramid of a healthcare system where primary health care should be focused on.
No, primary healthcare means you will physically need a doctor there, a nurse there, other
Yes, sir.
attendants there. You are yourself telling me there's a shortage.
Yes, sir.
So there is a shortage. What is the timeline? So it will take at least what? Another 6 years, 7 years, 10 years
Yes, sir.
for you to start correcting the imbalance, assuming that you start today.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
not right?
Yes, sir.
What happens in the middle?
Sir, in the middle, we can go for these teleconsultation services that can be a short-term solution to the problems we are having. And at the same time, we should focus on having very robust referral services, especially ambulance services, so that people are able to access the tertiary care or other care of institution if the services are not available nearby to the residents.
No, but an ambulance is not just a car
Yes, sir.
or a van with medical facility. It also has personnel inside it, qualified personnel inside it. If the man is having a heart attack, or there is a patient who's been put over there with a serious injury,
Yes, sir.
there have to be qualified people inside. You've just pointed out to me
Yes, sir.
that there is a shortage in the qualified personnel. So do I take it that for the next 10 years, it's status quo?
Sir, for that we can go for limited licentiate system, for which we should expand the number of people who can give the required medical care, because there is a spectrum. Everyone does not need the a qualified MBBS degree for certain prescriptions and certain healthcare solutions. So we can go for idea of nursing practitioner. We can go for even
But
idea
isn't medical, sorry to
Yes, sir.
ask this, I'll make this my last question.
Yes, sir.
But isn't medicine and engineering the two places where a lot of fake degrees are given? I mean, there is a report I read
Yes, sir.
that only less than 5% of India's engineers
Yes, sir.
are actually employable.
Yes, sir.
So I don't think the situation is qualitatively different when you come to medicine.
Yes, sir.
So where will you produce all these people?
Yes, sir. For that, we have to have lesser number of in case of medical education, it's just reverse. We have very less number of MBBS students and postgraduate seats, because previously there was MCI guidelines which required, say, 25 minimum 25 acre for medical college to be established. There were stringent guidelines who can teach the medical professionals. And because of that, the whole education is, especially in private sector, it is very costly, and people are not able to get. In case
Okay,
of
sorry, I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
When you are in Tihar jail
Yes, sir.
on a daily basis, how many patients do you see?
Yes, sir. During the second.
And this is purely for my general knowledge.
Yes, yes.
How many people come and consult you,
Yes,
and what is the kind of treatment you're able to give them?
Yes, sir. During the second wave of pandemic.
No, right now. I
So
mean-
right now the caseload is very low. In fact, only 5 patients are admitted in the hospital.
So you don't see them for any other ailment. Is that correct?
Sir, that depends on the posting, sir. If I'm posted in the casualty, general casualty, I have to see all the
In Tihar jail.
In Tihar jail. And sometimes I'm posted at the screening aspect.
And all the prisoners are vaccinated?
Sir, the process is going on. Those people with more than 45 years, 90% of them are vaccinated, but the others, the percentage is at present 40%.
And the police personnel?
Police personnel have been the security has been
Right.
yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
Well, it's a very interesting interview, Dr. Rajesh. You come across as a very interesting candidate, desirable candidate, if I may qualify it. You handle yourself very well, giving us a sampling of Ragini singing, and you seem to be not self-conscious at all. But after that, when we come to then I think there's a major flaw in your preparation
Yes.
for interview, because I think you got low marks in your interview, and that is what is interfered with your qualifying.
Yes.
It also is a problem that I think you got low marks in your optional subject. I think what the two are interrelated. When you practice medicine, you revise your medicine all along. Had you been in Tihar jail, these cases like death in custody, torture, suicides, alleged murders would have come away. But when you come to an interview and questions are asked, whether they are about your culture of your area, your village, your schooling, we did not come to Chandigarh where you have been educated and so on. Why did you opt to resign from the combined medical services and then come for the volunteer work? Now the COVID duty is over. How long are you going to continue in this temporary? These are issues which raise concerns about what shall we say, the fidelity of your answers. कि क्यों आपने मेडिकल उससे रिजाइन किया था, and then your own solutions for the malady seem to go against what you are doing yourself. So you are suggesting something very nice, telemedicine. You are suggesting something like paramedics. You are suggesting the medical council had done this, these. But everybody knew that since Dr. Nadkarni was the chairperson, despite his having been from Gujarat, he ultimately had to be eased out and the medical council work had to be taken over. So I think what is prescribed with the medical council, what is supposed to be there normatively, is not the reality of India's medical education, private medical colleges, admissions, quality of teaching, etc., etc. So I think those questions should not be answered routinely as a theoretical question asked and theoretical question dispensed with. In light of your experience, you should say that my experience in my medical college is different, but I do know of certain medical colleges where this is not there. So the question was a little more complicated. It was not only doctor-patient ratio, and I was a little unhappy with your response because what you were prescribing, you were not practicing. And you are saying that, look, telemedicine also requires in the back of the hand there has to be a qualified doctor who's not available in the village, but who can do that. West Bengal started doing it first of all. They had Sialda and Howrah, and they were having School of Tropical Medicine and the hospitals in Calcutta accessible. It depended on so many things. Or connectivity, it depended on a doctor who was available at that time, was not dealing with an emergency and so on. Same thing applies to paramedics, semi-qualified. Now, if you have the Ayush, they would say that the Ayurveda practitioners practice surgery as well. And they would say that let them prescribe Schedule L, Schedule H, Schedule P drugs also. Now, all that is that you are allowing a person to perform operations who has not studied anesthesia. If there is a regular anesthetist,
Yes,
you know how it works, So
sir, I was saying that, for example, nursing, if a nurse has been working for 10 years.
I understood perfectly what you were saying.
Sir.
First of all, you should get over the temptation of interrupting when you are being talked to.
Yes.
That's number one.
Yes.
Your formal interview is over. You are being given a feedback now.
Yes, sir.
So you can think of 10 valid answers by the time you go home and sleep tonight.
Yes.
But you have missed up the opportunity of putting them precisely in the interview when the question was asked. Now, nurses are professionally qualified. They reach up to the rank of Lieutenant General now in the Army Medical Corps.
Yes.
Now, there are different specializations. There are different functions in medical profession of a pharmacologist, of a pathologist, of a surgeon, of a neurologist, and they work in tandem. My question is that you might be asked this question and you are supposed to respond to it as a person who has thought about it as a doctor. Unfortunately, what has happened is your focus on the civil services has taken you away from certain fundamental questions of your profession which might now crop up now. That's what my concern is.
Yes,
So you should prepare for that, and I would request you, sir, to...
When is your interview?
So 2nd September.
Okay.
Okay. So you are very smartly dressed, except your shirt should be white,
Okay, sir.
right? Otherwise, lace shoes, that is important, black socks, Everything is perfect. Slightly sleeve slightly showing. Good.
Yes.
The belt, I hope it is long enough to touch the belt. So the tie should be touching the belt. So they make sure of that. Otherwise, nothing wrong. Two things you may like to do: take your DAF out today, and try and anticipate questions which can be asked out of it. We ask everything from here only, from Ragini or your whatever we ask you. So 100 possible questions arise out of it. If you can do that, it will be intellectual exercise also for you.
Yes, sir.
Imagine ये भी तो पूछ सकते हैं, ये भी तो पूछ सकते हैं, रोहतक के आसपास, गांव का नाम, बावली, जानी चोर song का नाम भी है by the way.
हाँ yes sir, जानी
Which is the other famous song?
Sir, Shahi Lakadhara.
Shahi Lakadhara, correct. Good. So now it can go. It is not mentioned here, but we went to all those questions. So ये एक तो इस पे 100 questions out of this आप बना लीजिए.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. Secondly, न्यूज़पेपर जो भी पढ़ते हैं आप, उसमें से 5 items रोजाना notes बना लीजिए. 5 items every day. If you are already doing it, that's good. If not, 5 जरूर करें. ठीक है. उसको refresh करते रहना होगा. Because news keeps developing.
Yes, sir.
कर लें. ठीक है. Any question?
Sir, I think थोड़ा fast हो गया. I was not able to control the pace of the interview.
नहीं, it was fine except
Hands up.
No, you are not supposed to control the pace of the interview.
Yes, sir.
The board controls the pace of the
Yes,
interview.
sir.
I mean, see, this is the basic problem with the doctor.
Yeah.
When the patient comes to the doctor, he is totally under the control of the doctor.
Yeah.
Unless you have read a book called Whose Life Is It Anyway?
Yes, sir.
So the problem is the doctor thinks that he can. I have had problems with doctors. Unfortunately, my father was a doctor. My problem is that when I go to a doctor, he says, "Are you a doctor? Why do you want to know this?" I say, I am the patient who is taking medication. I have taken a choice to come to you. I have to be informed properly about the hazards of the treatment I am going through or the benefits of the treatment going through. If you are not willing to discuss and if you are not going to give me enough time to do a clinical examination, don't prescribe a test for me. Go LFT, KFT, pura blood profile kara lo, pura blood profile kara lo. Why should I do it? You have not held my pulse. You have not taken my blood pressure. You have not used the stethoscope on my lungs. You have not seen my dilated pupils. You have not asked me to stick my tongue out. You have not taken my temperature. If you have not done a clinical examination, I will not accept a test prescribed by you. So my problem is that the doctor is in control, but a UPSC candidate is not in control. You are here in a position of a person, pardon my saying so,
Yes.
who is in a triad in an emergency. You can't even shout and cry and say, attend to me first, attend to me first. The pace will be developed. हमें पता है जी, Doctor रुको. This is not a hospital, this is not your clinic. We are setting the pace. You have to get used to pace being changed because that is part of the test. We are testing you. For a doctor, it should be easy. For a doctor, actual practicing doctor in a hospital, every day is working under pressure. It's a matter of life and death for the patient, if not for the doctor, all the time. So the problem is that you should not have this difficulty at all. Pace ज़्यादा हो, कम हो, कुछ हो, you are used to taking tension as a doctor.
कुछ uncomfortable लग रहा.
Sir, starting से I got uncomfortable.
When you sang Ragini, you thought it was uncomfortable? आप मजे में रागड़ी गा
हमने
रहे थे
तो आपको इतनी comfortable चीजें की
और
to make
आपने
you at
हमको
home.
वो रागड़ी गाने के बाद आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम था उसमें? उससे अच्छा तो कोई हो ही नहीं सकता. You sang a Ragini of your choice. You gave a message of women's empowerment.
We actually made you feel comfortable by
and
doing
we
that.
thought that part of your interview was fabulous.
I would have only requested as a Bengali
Yes.
that if you had given a 1-line or 2-line summary of what the song is. Women's empowerment, I understood. But if you had just said, this is what the song, what it says,
Yes.
By the way, ये song लिखा हुआ किसका था ये?
Sir, ये प्रियंका चौधरी. This is a new.
Recent है ना?
Recent.
क्योंकि
अब उसमें दिक्कत है जो कल्पना आ गई है वो हरियाणा की बेटी बाय स्ट्रेच ऑफ इमेजिनेशन है. वो उसका एम्पावरमेंट यहाँ नहीं वहाँ हुआ है. So there are basic flaws. It seems to be much too pat a Ragini to be for a interview board. A traditional Ragini would have been a.
क्योंकि ये तो कल्पना अपना तो अभी
You should
recent है
take
ना.
up some women who have done well in sports.
लक्ष्मी चंद
That
की
would
कोई
be more
लक्ष्मी
appropriate.
चंद की रागनी कोई याद है कि नहीं?
है सर, लेकिन वो थोड़ा सा कम्प्लेक्स वर्ड्स है. जैसे मेरा नाम नहीं, 2-3 I have.
कोई बात नहीं. तो how you are looking uncomfortable, वो जो कह रहे हैं अच्छा हाथ भी आप अपनी बजाय रखने के अगर यूँ रखें तो बिकॉज ये अननेचुरल होता है, इस तरह तो कोई बैठता नहीं घर में, एक दूसरे पे रखें या यूँ रखें तो ज़्यादा अच्छा लगता है
Okay.
ना, यूँ रखें तो ज़्यादा बेहतर है। हालांकि आपको बहुत लोग बताएंगे कि यूँ रखिए, तो दैट इज अननेचुरल अकॉर्डिंग टू अस।
And don't worry, you don't have any reason to be defensive or discouraged. The only thing is that you seem to be a little unprepared in the core area of your competence. बात पुरानी हो गई है, डॉक्टरी पढ़ी भी पुरानी बात हो गई, प्रैक्टिस आपने बहुत कम किया है, बीच में ब्रेक हो गया है. Had you been in a hospital, had you been in medical practice or service, these things would have come to you almost naturally.
अनकंफर्टेबल होने का आपने और मॉक इंटरव्यू दिए भी नहीं दिए?
दिए हैं सर,
कितने दिए?
क्या फीडबैक मिला था?
दो दिए हैं.
दो
अभी
दिए,
तक.
क्या फीडबैक था?
सर उसमें तो अभी तक तो पॉजिटिव था.
पॉजिटिव, ये भी
अरे
तो
हम
हमारा भी तो
आपको
पॉजिटिव है।
पॉजिटिव भी तो दे रहे हैं हम आपको.
Yes, sir.
तो उसमें क्या प्रश्न पूछा?
सर उसमें मेडिकल साइंस से तो नहीं थे, जनरल करंट अफेयर्स के जो मैंने तैयारी की हुई है उसके बारे में, जो
Okay,
इंटरनेशनल
डॉक्टर साहब मेरी
रिलेशन.
बात का जवाब दो प्लीज. दिस इज द लास्ट
Yes,
क्वेश्चन
yes.
आई विल आस्क यू. आई हैव मेड यू वेरी अनकंफर्टेबल आई थिंक. मेडिकल साइंस आपका अपना फील्ड है, करंट अफेयर्स आपका अपना फील्ड नहीं है, उसमें आप जवाब देने में कंफर्टेबल हैं. मेडिकल साइंस में आपको प्रॉब्लम है. दिस वन माय प्रॉब्लम. सेकंड प्रॉब्लम व्हिच आई थिंक इज mock interview is not to give you a false pep talk. We are here to give you a reality check कि जिस दिन आप असली दिन जाए ना यूपीएससी के सामने, उस दिन कोई प्रॉब्लम ना हो. जितने हम आपको जितना डिस्कम्फर्ट अनकंफर्टेबल कर सकते हैं करें, ताकि उस दिन आपको प्रॉब्लम ना हो. दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम.
That thing should come to you as a surprise. That is the idea. इसीलिए जैसे हम डैव के बोल रहे हैं.
जैसे आपसे किसी ने रागड़ी नहीं गवाई होगी, आपसे किसी ने मेडिकल साइंस नहीं पूछा होगा, मगर है इसमें और पूछा जा सकता है.
So
रागिनी
we
पे
see
पूछा
your
था किसी ने कि
personality,
नहीं?
you know. We
सर एक ने पूछा है सर.
पूछा था. गाने को तो नहीं बोला था.
नहीं, गाने को तो
तो
So we assess
नहीं,
your personality,
रागनी
your
पे आपके जवाब
reactions,
सब अच्छे थे.
how you respond to a question, to a situation or to a
Your
question.
questions were responded to very positively. And I will repeat, as the Honorable Chairman repeatedly says, this is not a test of your knowledge, including medical science knowledge. You should not be uncomfortable.
ठीक है. Best of luck.
All the
Luck
best.
you.
All the best.
You are not teaching medical science in a private medical college. Nobody expects you to do everything.
थैंक यू.